Hello, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Brigitta Toruño, and welcome to Uno Soul's Chat. Today, I am honored to be chatting with Elizabeth Hope, an Uno Soul. She is a life coach and an energy healer. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Brigitta. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you're here. And I am really excited about what we're going to talk about, which is we're going to explore the power of color. And I love color. So we're going to talk about how can we increase our mood using colors. What we will discuss today are ideas and concepts for everyone to explore. And this is in no way intended, of course, to replace any advice from a medical practitioner.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And there are lots of ideas on color and color theory out there. Yes. And today, all that matters is what you see and the feeling that color evokes for you. So, Elizabeth, how did you get interested in using color to lift your spirits?
Well, it was really probably out of necessity more than anything. I am Celtic in my heritage, and we tend to be sort of a moody crowd sometimes. So it's sort of a natural thing for me to be introspective and kind of go deep inside and sort of be pretty much an introvert. And sometimes if we have long periods of like gray days, that can be a bit overwhelming. And so I find myself needing to sort of pull out of that and kind of lift everything up a bit and lighten up and see some of the beauty in life and recognize and be grateful for that. So I really found that I could raise my energy and raise my spirit a lot better when I was around things that were colorful, especially in the winter when we tend to not have some of the flowers and things like that. So that was really kind of what started it all for me.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's very insightful thinking in terms of your Celtic roots. You know, I'm Latina and I have indigenous blood in me. And I mean, I love color. I've always loved color. And I've had favorites throughout my life, right, that I'm sort of drawn towards. But yeah, I love to dot my house with pops of color here and there, and the same with my clothes. Maybe more than a pop with my clothes.
And that's, I think that is so empowering that especially, we can wake up in the morning and looking at our day, thinking about what we want to do. We can also think about who we want to be and how we want to be seen that day. And then go into our closet or our drawers or whatever and pick out that color that sort of resonates with us in the moment and matches that day that we want to create for ourselves.
Yeah. So speaking of that, sorry, how do you use color in your life?
Well, my house in general, I try and go with neutral tones so that I can use color as I choose to and pull it in and out depending on the season and depending on the room.
Yes.
I do love feng shui. I think that those are just amazing principles. I know little about it compared to the vast wealth of information that's out there. But I do know that if I add certain colors to certain areas of my home, it changes the energy, it changes the vibration, and it really truly does help me bring in more wealth or bring in more abundance or bring in better health or adds a calming tone when I need that. So it's interesting. It's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that, but it's a lot of what makes me feel like I want to feel.
Yeah, I love that. And what about in terms of feng shui? I've always been very drawn to it too. In terms of, you mentioned welcoming in wealth. What are some of the colors for that?
Well, one of the big things that you can do, especially this time of year when we're all trying to figure out our gardens and what color patterns we want to use and everything, if you can think about using live plants outside the front state. So your porch or window box, but something like that's near the door, and that's going to help attract energy, good energy into your home. And you can use yellow or some of the golds or even orange. This year we chose to go with orange. We found some beautiful orange geraniums, and we put one on each side, and it's amazing that that pop of color is just so lovely. Yeah. And then inside, if you have a home office, which most of us these days, doesn't everybody, where we're going to be doing our business, you could definitely use more yellow there. Maybe a picture of something, or I have a beautiful little watercolor that's in a gold frame. Anything like gold or even green. Green helps bring in power and health and wealth into a home office type environment. Or if you're having some health issues, you might want to have some yellow in the bedroom, so that when you're sleeping, when you're in dream time, you can start bringing in some healing vibrations.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I've heard about red, and I see you're wearing a beautiful red scarf.
I love red.
In terms of feng shui, what does that do for a room or a space?
Well, red represents the element of fire, so it's that passion. So again, you might want to put a pop in the bedroom. You might want to put a pop if you're having a trouble with your business or something. You might want to put a pop of red in to help draw in that energy and that passion. If you're feeling sort of low key about or less than energized about an area of your home, and try adding just a touch of red. Red is a marvelous color. It can also be overwhelming at times, though. So you do want to play with it a little bit. Start small, and then you can add a little bit more as you want to. You try not to put red in the kitchen, because fire and water, kitchen is water, fire and water, electricity, you want to be careful.
Good point.
Probably not a lot of red in the kitchen. But anywhere where you really want to maybe ignite a little bit of a boost of energy.
Nice.
And in your wardrobe, think about this. The great painters, when they were creating their masterpieces, often put just a touch of red somewhere in the painting to help focus the eye. It brings you into the painting.
Oh, wow. I love that. Interesting.
I thought that was very interesting if you take it into the context of bringing it into your life. And where do you want to focus your life?
Yeah.
So it's a little more red in the area if you're looking to create a romance, or if you're looking to create better health, or you're looking to create, maybe add some, if for health, you might want to add some more beets, or something with that dark red energy.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of things in when you're working with people who are maybe a little chaotic. They have they have a hard time grounding.
Yes.
They can be overwhelmed by too much red. So you might choose a different color when you're working with that particular type of client.
So if you're meeting with them,
yes,
either on Zoom or in person, to sort of think about what will help that person and that relationship in that moment.
Exactly. What is the result that you're trying to create? So if you're delivering some not so great news, which oftentimes, unfortunately, we have to think about something that's very grounding and keep them calm. And so you can just work through the problem, and you don't have that excitement of a brilliant red or a pop of intense pink or something that might incite them to a state of overwhelm. So maybe more of a brown or a blue that's kind of calming. And help bring that calm energy in. It will also calm you. So,
right.
And isn't that important that we can ground ourselves when we're talking to somebody else, and we need to be able to really reach them and have them hear us and feel safe and create those things.
Yeah.
So the color blue is associated with the Virgin Mary often. So oftentimes paintings of the Virgin Mary, you see she's wearing like a beautiful blue shawl or something.
Yes.
So people consciously or subconsciously, it doesn't matter whether you believe in religion or not. It's just such an iconic image that we have. It creates that sense of security and compassion and love, that sort of motherly love and purity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's great. And
when I say you want to think about your wardrobe and what you want to project, those are all pieces of it.
very nice. So good to know. And in terms of religions, and representing larger concepts, you mentioned the Virgin Mary. Are there
Yeah.
other ideas that we should know about?
Well, yeah. I mean, almost every religion has their associations with certain types of color. So,
Mhm.
like we have the entire chakra system that's known through several different religions, but it's typically thought of through the yoga and practicing of some of those special arts. And every chakra has its own color, and the red is actually associated with the root chakra of sort of that sense of being. You need that to exist.
Mhm.
And red in the shamanic world represents the blood of the mother. So it's the waterways that feed the Mother Earth. So they think about water and river are equated as red in their world. And
Nice.
so sometimes when you're meditating, they take you down that red river. You're thinking about flowing down that river, and it transports you to a different place.
Mm.
And black is another color that black represents the earth in the shamanic world.
Mhm.
It also has that connotation of sort of a goth and kind of mystery and sort of intrigue.
Yes.
So like we're going to have a new moon on Saturday.
Okay.
And it's the thought of that's when we cast our seeds into, that's when we plant. So it goes deep into the earth and stays in that darkness until it's ready to come up and see the light.
Right.
So you plant in the new moon, in the darkness, in the black, and then you harvest in the new moon, in the light.
Oh, I love that. That's
Yeah.
very nice. Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
And we also, what about green? Green is one of my favorite colors.
It is, isn't it just amazing?
Yeah.
So when you like this time of year and you see all the different shades of green, and every day it seems like it's changing, and it's so vibrant.
Mhm.
Green can often mean, so in the shamanic world and in the chakra world, green is the association of the fourth chakra, which is the heart. So
Mm.
it's that sense of heartfelt love and attachment and green and sensing with with nature. And I think that's why so many of us feel so much better when we are out among the grasses and the trees, even if there's a little pollen or whatever, we can deal through that.
Yes.
Green in feng shui can also mean health and that sense of abundance.
Mm.
And when you think about sort of how many colors are out there of green, how many shades of green that there are, it's kind of hard not to equate that with the sense that for every color that's out there, it's just an abundance of vibrant energy. And you think
Mhm.
about that as far as other aspects of your life.
Yes.
So, it's a way to sort of open up that space of maybe if you're feeling a little bit confined or you're feeling a little bit closed in, just allowing yourself to see the different colors and know that the abundance, and you're not stuck. You're not in a rut. There's so many things out there. And for a
Such
lot
a
of people, I think
variety.
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, the variety, exactly.
Yeah, very nice. There's a quote that I found by somebody named Wassily Kandinsky, who was
Mm,
a Russian painter and art theorist in the
mm.
late 1800s, early 1900s. And he said, color is a power which directly influences the soul.
Oh, isn't that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I really love that. And, I always think, what people say, right? We get quotes from the 1200s, 1300, and there are these things that people have said that are timeless, right?
Yes.
It's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that too right now.
Mhm. Well, some of the jewel tone colors that, so I'm, if you go and you have your colors done by professional people who know all about these things as far as makeup and things, I'm a fall. And so, yeah, so the jewel tones, and it's true. I just naturally am drawn to picking colors of fall clothes that have those colors in them and things. And I do feel better when I'm wearing them. It's a deep connection.
Yeah.
And I do think yeah.
That's great. I was wondering, and going back just for a minute to the chakras,
Sure.
would you be able to go through all of them and tell us the color and the meaning?
Sure.
Great.
So the root chakra is red.
Okay.
And we talked about the fact that that's sort of the blood of the mother, and the root chakra is all about life. It's life or death. It's the most basic it can be. The second chakra up is orange, and so that's it's typically where our womb is, and all of so it's creative. It's all the creative energies. Think about fall and the Halloween, and people are being creative about their costumes and how they want to carve their pumpkins and all of those things. Orange is a great color.
Yeah.
And then you have yellow. So yellow is the third chakra. And yellow, we were talking about, is the typical color of happiness. I mean, it's hard not to think of like the 1970s, and they had the smiley face with the yellow and yellow school buses. And, yellow can also be a little depressing if you have too much of it. So again, it's one of those things you introduce carefully and in places. If you had bright yellow walls in a room, it might be overwhelming. And if you were having a hard time, it might remind you that you're having a hard time. So again, use it carefully. You can probably wear yellow. I cannot. I'm too pale. I can't wear yellow. But I can have a little yellow scarf, or I can have a little yellow accent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Green is for the, as we said, is for the heart chakra.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's just like, I think of emerald green, and I think of, Ireland, and I think of St. Patrick's Day, and I think of all of those things because that's my heritage. Mm-hmm. But it's also, that health and love and family. If you're struggling with some family relations, green is a very healing color, especially for family issues. So you can think about putting, maybe something that is green, like a green a cup, or a green candle, or something, maybe near some family photos, just to bring in that sense of green and help maybe heal some family energies. Mm-hmm. And then we get into, some people have different, names for some of the colors in this area. But so we come to the throat chakra, and the throat chakra for us is indigo. So it's an indigo blue. And the throat chakra is very important. We also think of it as silver in the shamanic world, because it's communication, and it's communication so it's your chakra is right in the notch of your breastbone. Mm-hmm. And communication is the listening, as well as the speaking, as well as the writing. Mm-hmm. Yes. So sometimes when we get tongue-tied, or we have some communications issues, if we can kind of think about that, maybe add a little pop of indigo or something like that to kind of, make us realize that we need to maybe listen more or speak less or something. Yes. And then we have the sixth chakra, which is right in the middle of your forehead, and that's what some people call your intuition or your sixth sense. And this is violet for most of us. Mm-hmm. And it's an amazing ability to use your intuition and to be able to see and feel deeply in things. It's not the be all end all. A lot of people worry mostly about developing this sixth sense and pulling in their intuition. And what it can be is it can be overwhelming. So really, we believe in balancing all of them. Every single chakra is important to having a healthy and joyous life. And then, depending on which world you look in, there's the seventh chakra, and then there's the eighth, and then there's the ninth. Mm-hmm. And they all have a little bit different connotation depending on where you are. But for the seventh chakra, it's the crown chakra, and it helps bring in pure light. And that's often what its color is it's just sort of a bright silver light. And it connects you to the sun.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Thank you so much for explaining
Sure.
that. I think that's really helpful. And I'm a very visual person. So if I can envision those colors, and the meaning, it really helps. So thank you for that.
Sure.
And
it does correlate that if you're having a little bit of a heart issue or something like that, you maybe had a little bit of a heartbreak, or you're missing someone, you're grieving or something like that. Wearing green can help you to heal.
Oh, nice.
Well, you're bringing that vibration. Colors are just vibration. So you're bringing that vibration into that energy center.
Yes. Yes. So true. So that they're vibrations. And Elizabeth, I was wondering, how did you use color to assist you during the pandemic?
Well, I did get COVID. I got COVID in early on. So it was what seemed like we were must have been had to be at the tail end. But of course, it was just the beginning. Was in July of 19. So at that point, there was really nothing Western medicine had to offer much, other than rest. And I was not hospitalized. It was not that kind. It was
good.
It was bad, but it wasn't that bad.
Okay.
I called my herbalist right away and got some things sent to me with some tinctures and some things, which very much helped. But what I found was that the worst symptom for me was depression. It would come on. It would come on just instantly. I had like very little warning, and it would just be there. And it was pretty dark and deep. And so I would allow myself to go through it for a little bit to see if there was something that I needed to work on or learn or something. But I was monitoring it very carefully. And I would have called a mental health professional had I needed to. Absolutely.
Yes.
But what I found was I would allow myself the time to go and paint. I have some paints. I have lots of paints and all those things. And normally I paint my dreams. I don't paint a landscape. I'm not good at all. I have siblings who are wonderful. I'm not good at all, but I can paint a feeling. So I make sure that I have plenty of the paints of the colors that I usually dream in. And that just helped me to remember that we're still creating all the time. We're creating, we can use color, we can see color. And it encouraged me to kind of go and think about, gee, if we wanted to redecorate, what would we look at? And so I would go out and I would look at Pinterest and I would look at all the places that have fashion and, what were the big colors for the next year? And how did I feel about that? Did I like that? Could I imagine that? What would it feel like to wake up every morning in that? I would look at the paint samples, look at all those paint samples.
Yes.
And think about, and you want to go dizzy thinking about color, trying to think. And when I was much better, I did still sometimes get these as long hauler syndrome. So I would find that I would go to a fabric store.
Oh, yeah.
And I would be able to see the textiles and the patterns and the color. And it always lifted me up, always.
Yeah.
And I did a little research and I found that you can actually, many of the big museums, they all have their programs. You can do your audio when you go in. A lot of them have them online.
Oh.
Simply because so many people weren't going to be able to enjoy the museum. So they provided this as a benefit to people. And that was lovely because you could be in touch with just so many different things, everything, from Picasso to Michelangelo and, everything in between. And that was a lovely experience, just being able to let it wash over you. And I found I always felt better.
Yeah.
Always better.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. That's very helpful to hear and to, and as suggestions for people, right? If they are feeling a little down, or it's interesting, right? How we'll say, if you're feeling a little blue, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just
and there were several of the major painters have had their blue period where they focused on things and they some of them they're very realistic, but they're not always very happy.
Right.
blue is one of those colors that can be lots of things to lots of people. And it depends how much gray is in it, and it depends how bright you want to do things, or whether it's a beautiful sky blue.
Yeah. Yes.
But also, another place that you can always go is a garden.
You're
So many
right.
lovely gardens.
I've been drawn to gardens so much lately. And of course, this was even a month ago. I went to one in Georgetown,
Yes.
Oaks, and it wasn't in full bloom, but whatever was there, I just took it in. It was just beautiful. And to be in that outdoor environment and everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then when you go look for paints and you happen to want a gray, that's when you find out there are 5,000 shades of gray.
Yes. And depending on how the light comes in your house is all going to look different in every room.
That's right. Yeah. It can be dizzying. Yeah.
And this time of year, it's wonderful. We can go to garden centers, and you don't even have to be looking to buy something. I mean, you could whether you want just a little pot for your kitchen table, or whether you want a window box, or you want to do an entire garden. There's so many ideas, and it's just so enlivening just to be around all those pops of color. And again, it's choices. It's reminding us of how many choices there are in this life that we can make.
That's right. Yeah. And I was very lucky these last few days to have spent some time in New York City with a friend of mine who is a fashion designer. And
that was fun.
That was fun. So we went to all these boutiques, and it was amazing to see it through her eyes, who has, studied at Parsons and knows color and texture and all of that. It was really beautiful for the senses, to be in that environment of all these amazing clothing designs and I of course I didn't buy anything. To me, it's more like having gone to a museum, just all these unique pieces,
Yes.
It was really just a delight for the senses to go into the boutiques and see all the color. So that was lovely.
And I think there's something about fashion in particular with color and that texture and feeling it when you can.
Yes.
I one of the shows that I really love to watch is Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries, and it's mostly for the fashion, because it's set quite a bit back in time, and it's in Australia. And since she's supposed to come from a wealthy background, she has magnificent furnishings on the wall, the textured wallpaper and the beautiful drapes and her clothes and everything like that. And it's just wonderful to sort of revel in that beauty.
Yeah, you're right. There are some amazing costume designers out there for these different movies. And I know on Netflix, someone told me, and I started watching Versailles, a series. And again, that's just the idea of the beautiful dresses, and even for the men, what they were wearing, just beautiful.
All the silks and the and the embroidery.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you think of where color is found, it's really just everywhere when we really want to look for it. And there are some places where it, of course, shines a lot more, like, of course, in the gardens, but who would think that in the movies it would also be amazing?
Yep. I'm looking, I haven't seen Cyrano yet, but I am looking forward to that primarily for the costumes and that sense of how they create that sense of long ago, and yet it's so amazing. Fabrics.
Yeah. Elizabeth, we just talked a little bit about other ways, but what do you find are other ways that you like to enjoy color?
Well, as I say, I do like to do things that are tactile when I can with it. So planting my own flowers when I get them is nice, because you've got the color, the beautiful like I've got a bunch of snapdragons. I love snapdragons, and they come in such pretty variety. And I love having the color and the green right next to it, and then in the darkness of the soil. And I love getting my hands in the soil, and I think that that's important. So that to me is sort of a full sensual kind of experience. And I do make some of my own clothes, and I do some embroidery and some needlework. I
Nice.
learned, well, it's sort of, it reminds me of way back in time of weaving and textiles and things like that. But it also reminds me of my grandmother. She taught me how to knit and how to do some needlework, as did my aunt, and as did my older sister. So it's sort of a family tradition, and this kind of brings me back to that. But I love picking the different colors of yarn, so, and then having it run through your hands, and it just helps, and I find that there are colors that I'll pick up sometimes. I go, I want to get done with this fast because it's maybe not my favorite, or it doesn't doesn't make me feel good. And then there are other ones that I wish that could go on forever, because I love the scent of that particular color in that particular pattern.
Yeah, that's great.
I think anytime you can do that. I also do like those adult coloring books. Sometimes if you just need to, again, just kind of get something out, or find your way out of if you have a mental block over something and you just can't get out of that rut of worrying about something or thinking about something, sometimes doing that, adding color the way you want to in different things, can help open up your creativity, and you can find a way out of that.
Yeah, you're right. And I have an adult coloring book, and I have a set of colored pencils, and sometimes I just like, okay, it's time. There is actually an app, which is not quite as satisfying as putting, your hand on a pen and paper, or a pencil and paper, but there's an app where you can do sort of like paint by number
kind of thing. Yeah, cool.
But it still brings some of that meditative
absolutely
satisfaction, because you're like you touch one area and it just opens up with the color. So
and there are times when, maybe we don't have great hand-eye coordination, but we want to do something, but we get frustrated because it can't look exactly the way we want it to look or something. So something like that would be a perfect solution, know?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, I'm so thrilled that we could spend some moments talking about color and getting your extensive knowledge about it. And I'd love to know, what are you grateful for?
I think the thing I'm most grateful for in this life is my life partner. He and I have been together for almost 30 years. And I was never somebody who thought that I needed to be married. And if I hadn't found him, I probably wouldn't be married, but it works very, very well. We have 2 dogs whom I adore.
Oh.
And so during this pandemic and, with all this isolation and everything, my family my siblings are all over the map. And so going and seeing them was not an option, just like was for millions of people.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to have somebody else in the house who you were so compatible with. And it was easy.
Yeah.
It was easy. And we run 2 businesses out of the home. And so we're never in each other's way. We're not stepping on each other. And I was grateful for that. I was grateful that we were in the home that we were in, that was laid out the way it was, so that it was easy. And I was grateful for the fact that we are mostly healthy, which was important. And my siblings remained healthy. None of them contracted COVID, which was great. A few of my in-laws did, but they were mild cases like mine. So that was another thing to be very grateful for.
That's great. Oh, good. Thank you for sharing that.
Certainly.
And I would love it if you could leave us with some words of wisdom.
Well, I think the most important thing I've learned is that whatever seems to be the trouble that you're trying to get through, or the problem that you're working on, is never as bad as you think it really is. And there's almost always a solution and a way through it that is gonna work out long term for you. So just never give up, and always look to find the joy in whatever that you're doing, and strive for happiness. And I think those are things that none of us really engage in and allow ourselves to explore enough.
Oh,
I think that we should.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much. And I love everything you said about color as well. And it just, it speaks to the magnitude of color, right? And the ability that it can evoke feelings and just really bring meaning to so much of life's experiences.
Right.
So yeah, so thank you for
Well, thank
exploring.
you. It's been my pleasure.
Yeah, and this continues to be a powerful time to love each other, to unite, and to live in peace. Thank you so much for joining me, Elizabeth. I honor the light in you. Thank you so much for listening to Uno Souls Chat. You can find us at www.unosouls.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I would love to hear from you if you would like to chat with me. Have a beautiful week and see you at the next episode.